we're capable of evolving. I start seeing a psychiatrist and a counselor. Thank God for counseling. People who immediately tell you what you need to do, run.
You know what I'm saying?
This is the Black Christian Influencers Podcast.
So we're going to talk about a lot of cool things today. I really want to help some people and share some valuable insight that I've learned through life. But let's first just start with saying hi to the people who are watching. If you're already a part of this community, please, thank you so much for supporting us. But if you're not, subscribe, just join in and be a part of watching us regularly, because we're going to be here. We got a lot of cool things that we're going to do in the future. I'm looking forward to inviting guests. We already got some cool peoples lined up. I won't leave it a secret. We got some cool people lined up. So just know, influencers are coming. But I love hearing new voices too. So I'm open to anything. So comment, share with me, people you want to see, that kind of stuff. But today I really want to talk about some things that have been on my heart. Last time I talked a lot about my origin stories and things that led to where I am. I really want to pick up there, but talk a little bit more about something that I call rejection training. A lot of my story had to deal with rejection. And I think a lot of people's stories, a lot of your stories have rejection in them. And I finally learned to look at rejection as a training. Right? So I now look at rejection as a test. And when I have to deal with something hard and I get rejected in whatever it is, right? A loan or, asking someone for something that I need. I hate asking people for things, just so you know. I just don't like it. It makes me annoyed. So whenever I do ask you for something, just know I'm annoyed, but I'm doing it because I need it. But right, when you get direct rejection in general, it's hard. So that period of learning how to deal with it is pretty important, especially as an influencer, because we are rejected constantly. I mean, the algorithm be like, it'd be like really messing with you. Like, that's rejection daily. Anybody, if you're on social media, you know that algorithm be like player hating. But it's a part of the process that you learn. So if you're sticking with it even after dealing with the rejection, then you are really growing as a person. I feel like sometimes when I get rejected, I naturally want to find what I did wrong. Is anybody else like that? Like, I need to know, why? And when I don't get the why, I'm pissed. I'm like, I don't even know why. How do I fix this thing? I don't know. I want to figure it out. And so when you don't get the why, then you're trying to fix something that you don't understand or know. And that's worse, because now you're just kind of like fishing for stuff. You're trying to just do anything to get it to do what you want. Right. So I think that's dangerous. And yeah, I think for me, since I've been an influencer, I've experienced the most rejection. No, actually, since I've been a CEO, I've experienced the most rejection I've ever had in my life. What I did before, what happened in my life was preparation for the rejection I was going to face as a CEO, because the doors are constantly slamming. And recently I have a conference we're planning right now. And it's so hard because you got to have capital to start it. And so I applied for lines of credit because I got to have a lot of dough to put down deposits on large venues. And so I got rejected several times, almost to the point where I wanted to quit BCI. It was a point in the last few months before doing this podcast even, I was looking at selling BCI. Like, seriously, I got an evaluation. BCI is actually very profitable. It's a great thing. We got an agency, we got the community, we got travel club. So I literally got an evaluation, and they wanted to, it evaluated at $500,000. And hey, Tamar, that's my producer in training. So yeah, man, it was pretty cool because I was rejected. Did I say it's cool that I was rejected? Yeah, but it was, right? At the time, I didn't think it was, but I definitely was getting used to it. And I just started to figure out like, man, maybe this thing isn't for me. So I wanted to sell BCI and I got real quiet. Yeah, because I was contemplating that evaluation. I was like, should I just take my money and cut? Like, or should I stick it out? And, I kind of paused. It's important that when you are dealing with rejection, pause. Because you can make some hasty decisions. You can do some things. Okay, listen. All right, single ladies, okay? Okay? Make sure you pause because the next thing you know, that's how we get these rebound things, right? And so it's very important that you take time to just like not move too quickly. And I did that instead of selling BCI. And I had a meeting at the evaluation and literally it was an offer. And I paused. I said, I'm going to need about a few weeks to think about this. And I paused social media. I was still running everything, but I was literally just thinking about life and what it could be without all of this. And it was during that time I joined the praise team at my church. This is why it's important to serve, guys. You got to serve the Lord. Get in the church, okay? I started to serve at my church and I was broken because I was like, should I sell it? Should I not? And so I really just was starting to get, myself in order with God so that I can make sure I was making the right decision. And so as I was on the praise team, every time I sang with the praise team, the Lord just tore me up. My Pastor Hannah, Pastor Glenn, what's up, y'all? They poured into me every Sunday, and I didn't realize I was actually depleted. I was empty. That's probably why I wanted to sell BCI. I was pouring from an empty cup. You can't do that. It'll mess you up. Like running and driving on E, which I often do. They're laughing because we got here on a prayer. They were nervous, guys. Wait, let me pause. We literally were driving to get here to tape this recording, and I'm the person who waits to the very last minute to get some gas. Like, I know when it's going to stop. Okay, I know when it's going to start doing that little, and that means like, okay, you got about 2 minutes to get to a gas station. I know where that was. We were cool, but they like, you need to get some gas now. Like, Hector said, sister, I'm going to need for you to stop and get gas. I'm like, no, we got at least 10 more minutes. But anyway, so that was me. I was running on E in life, right? And I was just like, I was at that 2 minutes till ending. Like, my car was about to stop. My business was about to stop. So I started working at my church, just trying to figure out life. People probably were looking at me like, why is this girl on the praise team? Don't she got a business to run? Don't worry about me. Just let me figure out life. So I did that, and it worked because it really refreshed me, and something came to me like, this ain't my stuff. I'm trying to fix this business, but it ain't mine. So if it fails, then it ain't my fault. If it succeeds, cool. Right? I finally got back to that place that I started with of not holding too tightly or feeling pressure to make things work. And that was the sweet spot. I was like, how you feel now? I was like, oh, I feel good. And that's when I started. I was like, okay, well, let me get back to work, And I was like, okay, God, what do you want me to do first? And he was like, everything. I was like, everything? What do you mean everything? It's like, everything that you've been holding back from doing, I want you to do it now. I was like, oh, okay, well, here's the problem. I will do that, but we need some money. So you want me to do a conference? You want me to do a podcast? You want me to do meetups? You want me to hire staff to expand? Got it. Just give me a couple, I don't know, $50,000, something like that. We'll do it. Didn't think he was going to do it, y'all. I did not think Jesus was going to do it that literally, I was crying and I was literally stressing like, okay, God, you want me to do all this and now how am I going to do it? And I didn't have much long to stress about it because literally God opened the door. He put the people in place that I needed. Y'all, I didn't even know my brother-in-law was an underwriter. How did I not know that? So I'm talking to my sister about I was like, God told me to do everything, but I ain't got the money for it. And how he want me to start this and do that. And I ain't got this. And literally he was there with my sister and I think he had something in his hand drinking. And he was like, Jackie, can you send me your QuickBooks? I just want to take a look because I don't know, you may actually qualify for a line of credit. And I'm like, what's a line of credit? And he was like, well, it's kind of like a credit card with low interest. And, you know, you actually build your business credit while you have it. And anyway, long story short, we got the line of credit, y'all. And God bless because I was able to expand. I got a team. I've never had a team before. I've had few people that have worked with me, volunteers. Every now and then I had a person who worked as an assistant, but I've never had a team. Woo, guys, I got a team. I hired about 4 people, brought on like 3 volunteers, and now I expanded. I had the time to do the podcast, and I had the resources to start the conference. And I had the team to keep things going so we can expand. And everything that I needed, God provided it within a month. About. Woo. That right there. That almost brought me to tears, guys, because that is how good he is. He's a God that does not play. When you are focused on your purpose, when you give it to him and you don't hold on too tightly, and you heal and you're open to correction and whatever he leads and sends in your path, oh, the sky's the limit. That's the secret sauce. And then I learned really quickly how to just grow with it, y'all. Like, we doing this podcast now. I met Hector online. Tamara goes to my church, and I've just been talking to people, y'all. I just talk to people like, what you do? Okay, cool. And I keep in my mind, I listen to people often as they talk, and I'm like, okay, God, I think they're supposed to be connected to me somehow. You let me know what that is, though, right? And then he will literally put it in place where it's just like, this person is going to do that. Ask, and it shall be given. Right? And that's where I've been, y'all. I just been getting to know people, allowing for relationships to develop. That's important. Don't just start asking random strangers, hey, I need you to help me with something. No, like, get to know people. And then ask what you need. It's simple, but whoa, it's life-changing. So yeah, rejection for me turned into a huge learning boot camp because now I process rejection differently because I know my God is too good for anything to be harm to me. He's too good. Like, it's no way possible that something is going to hurt me with the way he's been in my life. He's been too good. So I definitely think a lot of us need to remember those moments. Like, we forget so easily. Our short-term memory is hard. It's horrible. We just God be doing things for us. You know, you remember when you was about to get put out on the street, your rent, you ain't had nothing, and he gave you the rent money, and then 2 months later, you don't forgot what he did. Use you back in the place where you stressing over something else, and you forgot about what he just did for you? Nah, man, you got to remember, rejection is something you need to learn from. When you get rejected, when things fall apart, when life gets rough, you got to remember. It was something that my pastor told us to do, write a journal. It was like, he was like, I need you to get a journal and just start writing down the things that God has done for you. and then write down like the things that you want to see happen. Oh man, I need to get that journal out because I wrote some things in that journal that now it's literally happening. And it just came to my mind like, whoa, that journal, I put a timestamp on it. I'm gonna have to literally screenshot at some point that thing because all of the stuff now has come to happen in this year. Y'all, that's the cheat code, okay? Write it down. Get you a journal. And make sure it's purpose aligned. I feel like that was the difference. That's what makes the difference, is that if it's going to edify the body, if it is going to be good for you and others, then it's nothing too hard for him. He's like, oh, that's what you need? Okay, cool. Because actually your blessing is going to help all of these people too. So yes, I will give you that. Yes, I will give you that. Yes, yes, yes. And there are some things that are like question mark. Okay. I have to trust him now because everything else in my life he ain't fell on. I'm still trusting him, y'all, with this husband thing. Like, we waiting. We waiting. That's okay though. I'm honestly not bitter about that. I'm okay for now. But yeah, that's definitely things that I think we need to think about. Y'all, that was one of the things. What else did I have to talk about today? Hector, what else? Tamar.
Well, I wanted to just kind of expand on the rejection thing. Mm-hmm. So in your personal life, how have you, does it still affect you now that you've been able to put a lot of years in from all the struggles with the business, your personal life? Yeah. Now that you know pretty much, you have like the basic tools, you know what to do when you're feeling rejected. Do you still sometimes get overwhelmed with rejection?
Oh, yeah.
Walk us through that. Yeah,
I think, it's natural. Rejection hurts. When you get hurt, you react, right? That's just natural, right? You came and hit me over the head with something, I would scream naturally, right? If I was exercising and lifting weights in the beginning, it's hard, heavy weights, but endurance. He that endureth. It happens and you begin to forget that you're hurting. It's like, oh yeah. I used to couldn't do all that. Like, I used to be sore. I used to be crying. Could barely move afterwards. I was crippled. I was unable to function after that workout. But now I move on quite quickly. I recover quite quickly. That's what it is now for me. The recovery is quicker. Not that the rejection doesn't happen, not that the pain isn't there, but the recovery is quicker. Yeah, that's how it goes. I think you definitely have to learn how to recover and recover well. Yeah.
All right, so now when these people are recovering and they're learning all the tactics and the tools, what is a way that they can continue to walk in a place of health? Because they have a lot of tools, but maintaining that consistency. Because sometimes being overwhelmed with rejection can just feel so defeating. Yeah. So what are some things you've done in your life to stay there and be able to stay consistent with the tools and the resources you have with it?
Yeah. That's actually a really good one. And something that I tell people that's very non-traditional in the sense that a lot of people wouldn't think to do it is that I help other people. Just like I started serving at my church. I've done stuff like that consistently since I've been, really a Christian. Like, I don't know, my adult life of really serving God, I've learned that serving others is the best way to recover. And, before this, I started the counseling center. I was deep in pain, y'all. I was recovering from a divorce, got fired, living in my parents' basement. What do? Start a counseling center. Give free counseling services to other people. And what that does, here's the practical thing. When you help other people, it takes the attention off of you. Because when you are feeling rejected and hurt, you're focusing on your problems. And you get even more depressed because you can't do nothing about it now. So you're only making yourself feel worse. But what if you took that focus and put it on somebody else. For me, when I start doing that and I start counseling other people, I was humbled because I realized I'm not the only person struggling. It's so easy for us to get caught up in ourselves. My life is bad. Things are happening to me. Okay, so is it happening to everybody else? Everybody else got problems too. And that's what it did for me. And I realized quickly that helping other people grounds me. It makes me realize, like, man, yeah, I'm having a sucky situation, but they are too. And mostly everybody else is in life, you know?
So does that have, realizing that other people have it too,
Yeah.
is that empathy? Is that you starting to recognize that it's not all about you?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, walk us through that. And I would like to know both sides, because a lot of times it is like, you don't got it so bad, you'll be fine. How do we address having empathy for yourself, being kind to yourself, and having empathy for others so that you could be well balanced, so you're not just always putting others first and not addressing the issues within?
Yep. I had to fall off the deep end in order to figure that out. I went too far. Like, I just began to take on other people's problems, right? So there is a too far. There's a happy medium that you have to find. And honestly, you won't find it except through trial and error. I wish there was an easier way, but sometimes you just have to put yourself out there and realize, like, okay, this is what I can do. This is what I can give, but this is what I can't. When it gets to the point where you become stressed from other people's stress, that's where you need to stop. Because that's not yours. Now, you can be concerned. You can be empathetic. But when that now becomes your stress, you're in problem zone, right? The Lord should take his yoke, not theirs. You got to give them back theirs and let them give it to God. That's what you really, really have to do. So I think that's the biggest part of all of this, is that when you start to feel that stress coming on, set boundaries. Stop. Like, there are some friends that maybe not, they're not helpful to talk to all the time. That's okay. I love all of my friends and family, but certain people, I just can't talk to you right now. Because what's going on for you is now affecting me in a negative way, and I'm not helpful to you. Because now we're both stressed about what you're dealing with. And so I'm stressing about your stuff and mine. That's not healthy. Double the stress? No. Yeah, that's double mint gum. Let me get to some other stuff. I had some other things I want to talk to you guys about, because life as an influencer is hard. And some of the things that I wanted to talk about goes kind of hand in hand with this. What to share and what not to share on social media. This is hard because we really want to be vulnerable, but there are certain things that we have to be careful about, right? Because if we're sharing with people on social media about things that have not completely resolved, we run the risk of hurting more than helping. I'm gonna let that sink in. Bars. Because it's honestly not about you. It's not about you. Man, that's the simple. It's not about you. It's about them. It's about the people that you're supporting. If we're Christian influencers, we got to be about what's best for others. And sometimes we have to consider what our words will do. My ex-husband had severe PTSD. And one thing I've been very intentional about is not oversharing about his testimony, his experience. And I never paint him in a negative light. He's a good person to this day. We're not together, but he's a good person. I respect him and I love him. And that's how you have to operate. When you talk about things, keep people in mind. I'm not saying don't share your testimony, If it involves somebody else, just use discretion. Be tactful. Okay? Some of y'all be petty. Y'all be sharing stuff and y'all just really are trying to throw off. Now, you're not even trying to help. You're just trying to throw off on things. And here's a very honest moment. I've thrown off before. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've never thrown off. I have. I've thrown off on things that I've been dealing with as an influencer and used my platform for bad, for evil. But I had to learn from that. I had to develop. And one thing I will say, here's a tip. A lot of times when you start sharing things on social media, and if you aren't healed from it, pause. Put it in the drafts. Put it in the draft section and just hold off on it for a while. Give yourself a week or so. Then look at it again from a healed place or from a sober place and decide if it's still worth sharing. I've deleted so many drafts, y'all. It's not even funny. It's not even funny. It's so many things where at the moment where I was like, yeah, this is done. I wanted to share it with people. And I'm like, later on, I was like, ooh, Jackie, what was that about? Did somebody hurt you? And they did, and honestly, I'm getting better at it. I'm not perfect. I've definitely thrown off some things before. I used to be very passive aggressive. The Lord delivered me. It's healing for you too. It was honestly something that I needed deliverance from it. I had to get deliverance from throwing off on people and using my platform to cause pain. Because we can do that. We have that power. And so it's very important for us to be careful. That's it. Be careful with what you post. Be careful with how much you share. And sometimes even how often you share. Because everything isn't meant for social media.
So with that, how do you discern when you have a safe place to share and when a certain friend group isn't safe? What does that look like?
Oh, that's good. I think you really have to see if it's relevant to the moment. I made a post about this a while ago where I basically said every time you talk to people, basically, it doesn't require you to share a relatable story. And we sometimes talk, and when people are talking, we naturally are like, oh, yeah, I remember I used to deal with that girl. When I was with that man, he used to dog me out, girl. And this is what happened to me when this, they were telling you about their experience. They didn't ask for you to share about yours. Sometimes listening is the best course of action. So when you're sharing with friends, when you're sharing online, listen to your audience. What are they wanting to know? What questions are they asking? Right? Ask them what they want to hear, right? This is for influence. This is for leaders. This is for teachers. This is for educators. Whatever you do, listen to people. They will tell you how much to do, how far to go, when to stop. A lot of times we don't know when to stop because we aren't listening. We don't know when to start because we aren't listening. And that's honestly a big skill that's necessary for us to grow.
So whenever you're discerning and figuring out when to be vulnerable and when to share, when you look at a certain person, what is a red flag when it comes to you sharing vulnerability? What do we run from? What do we look out for so that we know who to connect with?
Yeah. People who are too eager to know like all of your stuff quick, I run from now. Like if you're trying to get too deep with me too quick, I question your motives. I think it's unrealistic for people to think that with one conversation, I should be completely open with you about my entire life. Like, let's grow into this. Let's have coffee a few times, like I need a little bit of time to know who you are and you need to know who I am. Because now I'm questioning, do you just do this with everybody? Is this a real connection, or are you just really thirsty for attention? Are you just really, really looking for some drama, like some information for you to live your life? Are you an information whore? Can I say that? I really do think some people are just literally out here slutting it out. Like, get information from you, and I get information from you, and you, and I get all this information. And it makes me feel good about myself because I feel like I'm holding something. This information is my treasure. They treasure that. Like, that's a problem. And if you notice tendencies in yourself like that, where you just feel like you need to know everything about everybody else and you're not minding your own more, then that's a problem. That's scary to me, actually. So, yeah.
So whenever you're figuring out who to talk to and how to be vulnerable, all that stuff, what do you look for in a good friend? Like, now I just want to hit the green flags.
Yeah.
When do you know you have a good friend that you can confide in and be as honest as much as they're down with?
Yeah. I feel like for me, it's a time test. If you are connected with me consistently, I will be more and more open with you. Time is necessary. We got to allow for people to just be consistent, because then you'll know, are they just here for a moment? Are they just here because now I'm hot? Okay. Or are they going to be here when I'm not? That's important. I'm very nervous about this conference. Like, I'm preparing a conference and I'm getting so many DMs from people who want to be speakers. Like, can I be a speaker? And I'm like, cool. Some of them I'm like, oh yes, I love what you do. But others I'm like, man, this is really scary, because people will blow your head up. They'll just kind of like give you a lot of flattery and overdo it. And then this is a problem though. Some people run the risk of taking that flattery in and getting a big head. Or like me, I take it in and then I become my walls come up. So I'm like, oh my God, who can I trust? Because I know they're not telling the truth. I ain't never heard from this person before. And now they're really just trying to overdo it and, get really close to me really fast. Like, my guard comes up. And I really am not good with that. So I think for me during this time, I'm very intentional on making sure the people who were close with me from the beginning, we locked in. If you were locked in with me when I didn't have nothing, you're going to be locked in with me forever. Starting this podcast, if you're locked in, one of the people who watched this episode and the ones to come, we like this. We cool now. We family.
So in this time that you've walked through all the seasons of your life, are you naturally a person that has a smaller friend group that's your close crew, or naturally inclined to have a bunch of friends?
Nah, I never had a bunch of friends. I sat alone in grammar school and watched people play at recess. It's not sad. I was happy. Why do people always assume that it was a troubled time? I was very content with my self-isolation. It was a choice. I've always been that way. I like just being by myself. And if I'm not by myself, I like being with people who make me feel like I'm by myself. Like, they allow for me to just be me. I don't have to put on an act. I don't have to like do anything extra. I can just be me, and that's important. So it's very few people that I feel like I can do that around. So honestly, I may have a group of 4 or 5 close friends. But yeah, it's growing. I get more people that I know. I'm letting more people in. Honestly, that's a problem. I need to do better at that. I don't let people in easily, but it's growing. It's hope for me. It's hope for you.
So, you look back in the Bible and you see Jesus had his small group of friends.
He did, didn't he?
Why do you think he rolled that way? Because there was instances where he introverts and he has a small group of friends, and he'll even break away from that group of friends to either be alone, or he'll only bring maybe 2 other disciples up a mountain, right? And then there's instances where when it's work time, he goes and speaks to the masses. So what do you think Jesus' psyche was on that? And how would you encourage people to follow suit on some of those tactics that he did socially?
Oh, that was a great analogy. Jesus was a good friend. What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. I think he really set an example of how we have to be. It's okay to break away. It's okay to have moments where you're not as close to some of your friends as you were in the past, right? Jesus did all that. I'm definitely like Jesus now. Now that I think about it, you just really made me feel comfortable with me. Because it's so necessary, though. Like, we got to be careful with trying to be everything to everybody all the time. Maybe it's not their season to be walking with you as closely as they did before. And that doesn't mean they're not a friend still. It doesn't mean that they're not connected to you. It just means that you have a season where you are requiring more or different people around you. And so I think that part is what we got to learn, is how to know who to walk with in what season. That's a good question. I don't know, honestly. I feel like you got to be led. That's spirit led for me. Or maybe that's the default answer. Whenever you don't know something, you just say, it's got to be led by the spirit.
So how would you encourage somebody to be comfortable and learning to be okay to be alone? A lot of times people look at being alone and feeling lonely can be a bad thing. But oftentimes, just like the Jesus analogy, homie broke away. So where do you see the importance of that? And how do you encourage someone to learn to be comfortable with being alone?
Yeah. This is a topic I'm very good at. Guys, being alone is my happy place. And for those who have not learned the art of being alone, you really have to allow yourself to process that. I feel like the pandemic helped a lot of people in the sense of it allowed for people to learn how to separate from other people and figure out who they are. What do you like? Those are things that you should know. What can you do by yourself without anybody else? For me, I like puzzles. I like coloring. I like focusing, right? That's what it boils down to for me. I like giving my attention directly to something and just kind of zoning out. During those moments, my brain, it just frees up mental space. It's almost like I'm deleting the trash from my mind, right? I'm pressing that button and it's just releasing all of that stuff that's just been piled on. Because sometimes when we're constantly being around and needing to connect and always constantly needing people to talk and pour into us and all that stuff, we get full and we can't really process new information well because we haven't processed the old information. Processing requires time alone. You can't process with somebody talking to you. Right? I just paused there specifically for that reason, right? Because sometimes after you say something, the pause is for the process. I felt that in my spirit. I know. It's really relevant because when you do that, it allows for you to think. It allows for you to just internalize everything that could mean. It's breaking it down. It's separating the good that you need from it and the stuff that doesn't. That's what's necessary. When you get alone, you do that. And if we never get alone, we can never get full revelations from things. Honestly, you're never really alone because God is always with us, right? And if you're always with other people and you're getting things from them, when do you have time for God? When can he talk to you? If you're never alone, when do you talk to God? God he can't really talk to you like he wants to until he gets you alone. So that's why it's necessary. It's not just because you are, in need of isolation. It's because you're in need of God. And he operates in like the quiet spaces. So, all right, I think we got deep enough. Until next time.